You're tuned in to RX Radio.
I remember once being, I think it would have been when we were in grad school, reading some research about athletes
Mm-hmm.
when they step on a treadmill, their heart rate already starts to elevate,
Interesting.
which I thought to be like, a psychological just state of arousal that you haven't done the thing, but your brain knows what the thing is about to do. Almost like when you step, I think of this a lot because I'm always in airports, is like the neurobiomechanical mechanisms of stepping onto the moving sidewalk. So like when you're walking through the airport, the experience of moving onto something that's already moving, and
Right.
like how like your cerebellum would prepare you to adjust your cadence getting on and off. Like there's such like a vestibular component to that. But that must be something at play when it comes to like an athlete stepping on a treadmill, of like this predictive value. Like your body has this ability to plan movements before they initiate. So one of the common examples that we get taught coming out of Cairo school is the erectors and like the transverse abdominis fire before you lift your arm, right? Mm-hmm. So you may be thinking voluntarily about shoulder flexion, if we're kind of using the technical terms, just like raising your arm up. And prior to doing that, your body already knows the counterforce required at the trunk so that your arm raises and nothing else compensates. So the thing that precedes shoulder flexion, your arm going up in the air, is actually, some sort of stabilization of the trunk, and they can measure that, and that sometimes becomes latent in people who have injuries. So there's like a real unique hard wiring to our movements that's predictive. And the whole reason I bring this up is your body must know it's podcast time when a Zin goes into the face. That's like all of that to say, it's like it's like in Cool Runnings where they have that little chant at the beginning, like feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. You're like feel the Zin and feel nothing else, and then it's podcast time.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in addiction, but it's habitual. It's like ritual. Every time the mic goes on, the camera's on, it's like, you know what? I need some nicotine in the bloodstream. I don't think this recording's going to go well.
Believe in addiction.
No.
Is you don't believe in quitting is what you don't believe in.
Yeah.
Look, addiction is not the tooth fairy, my friend. Addiction exists whether you believe it or not. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sounds like a quitter to me.
That's right.
But yes, it's podcast time. It's also Prescript level 1 time. So Prescript level 1, blistering start. I've counted 25 different countries so far.
That's nuts.
Insane. Which and it's been years. Yeah, it's been years since I've actually tallied how many countries PSL1 coaches hail from. But I remember doing it years ago, like 2-3 years ago at least, and we were in like 70 plus countries, which was pretty cool. This current semester, we got a cat from the Ivory Coast. I mean, me just being like a bit of a travel. You want to talk about addiction? Travel addiction, I think, is fully set in. And I don't plan on quitting either. So, call it Zin, call it whatever. But no, I think we're 20 plus, 25 plus countries already, which is always cool to see the international crowd turn out. So if you guys have been on the fence, now would be the time to get in. A lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipe for this semester. We've now just added our 7th lab to the week. So literally there's if you have a question about course material, you can hop on for an hour with one of our instructors, and you can rap with coaches from, when we say literally all over the world, like it's quite literally all over the world. Yeah. So class goes live on January 26th, I believe, whatever that Monday is.
27th, I believe.
27th, Jay in with a correction. So January 27th, you can reserve your seat now. www.pre-script.com. It's right on the homepage. You get the manual sent out to you. You'll get a collective invite once the semester starts. 7 labs, 5 L1 labs, 2 technique labs a week. So if you guys have been thinking about getting in, now would be the time. So secure your seat, prescript.com. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I guess we can throw a soft intro out there. Everyone who's been involved in the collective knows who Mahan is. But Mahan coming on officially now, it's officially official, as our collective moderator. So he's been a mainstay in the labs, probably all the labs. since
At
day
least 4
one, since he
years.
jumped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2020.
So officially he's part of the team now, and he'll be the collective moderator. So you guys can look out for him in the Discord channel. Yeah, that's about
I think
it.
the L1 that kind of segues into what we wanted to talk about, and it's something that I get increasingly more inquiries about, and the L1 and 2 and 3, so the whole prescript level track, has in very recent, like I'm talking in the last like week or so, as we're coming on like the 1 year anniversary of the inaugural class of prescript level 3,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of this in-person immersive education experience where you're shoulder to shoulder coaching pro athletes alongside myself and Jay and Killian, Yo Murphy, et cetera, down in Tampa. We've gotten a lot of feedback and like really just a lot of gratitude, which is cool, from people who've gone through the whole thing, 1, 2, and 3 over the course of a number of years, and now are giving us feedback about their careers, about the success they've had. Shout out Matt Wells going back into academia, who was kind of just telling us how the L1, 2, and 3 have prepared him for a PhD program, which, like, look, there's a lot of like fitness education. I don't think there's a ton that I'm aware of anyways, where someone's going to go into a PhD program and be like, oh, this is easy because I did this thing. So I don't know. Like I really took to that one because obviously with your and I's academic background, and choosing to go the route that we did, it meant a lot to us that it carried a lot of weight in like the academic space. So that was one. Another one, shout out Brandon Johnson. He like fucking turned around and within 3 weeks was working at Coolest Sports Performance, which is like one of the premier private strength and conditioning training facilities in the world. Honestly, like train a lot of big name NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, Olympians. Gorgeous facility. So shout out Brandon, who like again after L3, it would have been by like February, like 2 or 3 weeks after he had an interview, and the experience he had out there catalyzed things. Our boy Stransky hit us up a couple days ago. Private sector, New York, holds it down. Upper East Side, good clientele, loyal book of business, upped his rates, and fucking was like, yo, all my people rolled with me. And, I obviously each of these people, and I want to make sure this is clearly, carries with them something special that long predated their interaction with us. And maybe they're just kind enough to extend us an olive branch and be like, well, let's give these guys. But regardless, these are messages we've received within the last week. By the time this podcast goes out, within the last like 10 days. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, because the inquiries that I get a lot are around career trajectory, right? It is a bit of and I hate to use the phrase because it's a little bit tried, but it is a bit of a wild west in the industry of coaching meets online meets fitness professional, whether that's chiro like ourselves or physical therapist or personal trainer or coach, massage therapist, naturopath, osteopath. Like there's a lot of intersectionality. There's a lot of overlapping Venn diagrams with like someone who is into health, fitness, performance, wellness, longevity. And, there's a bunch of different paths to go on. And I'm sure this question you get a lot, but where do you start with someone who's like, hey, I'm 20 something years old or even younger, 18 years old. I'm finishing up high school. I want to do, maybe it's something I want to do what you guys do. What would you suggest? Because we got into this. Fuck, dude. I was out of high school in 08.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fucking wild, dude.
Dude, long ass time ago.
Yeah. I try and deter them. That's the first thing. Because to be honest, I don't even know how to really describe the path to go down to get to where I've gotten to where we are to someone else, other than just describing what's happened to me, like how things transpired with me. But I think that right now it's a cool time to be in training or in the strength and conditioning industry because and we've talked about this on podcasts before, but health, wellness, fitness is kind of at the forefront of healthcare right now. Like it's a lot more popularized and accepted in terms of, all right, these are things that you have to be doing. Someone has some component of this. Like it's now cool to work out. It's not like a fringe kind of like niche activity that you do or like just athletes do. It's look at the success of like Orange Theory Fitness or F45 or like all these like general population class fitness things. Like the reason these are blowing up so much is because there's so much opportunity in fitness, because people are starting to learn, people are starting to understand that, okay, like this is something I have to be doing because it's now so easy to be alive and I want to be healthy into the later years of my life. So it's I think there's a lot of opportunity in a lot of different areas that haven't even been explored yet in terms of health and wellness and fitness. So it's kind of an exciting time to be involved in this stuff. A lot more exciting than when you and I got involved in it, because we kind of had to just forge our own path into this. And now there is a lot better ability to make a living as a personal trainer than there was, say, 20 years ago. So like people can make a good living as a personal trainer, or people can like actually get a job in strength and conditioning and have that be their full-time thing, that's really cool, because I don't think you saw much of that 20 years, like when you and I got into this, like '08, we'll say. So I think that's really cool. But the thing that comes with that is that things are getting a lot more competitive in the space, right? And I think something that's really important for someone. So say someone comes to me and they do ask that question, like where do I start? For me, you have to be training. If you're 20 years old, you have to be training at least 5 years now. Like it's already too late if you haven't started. It's not too late to start, but at the same time, like if you want this to be your career, like it needs to be a passion of yours. It needs to be something that you've already invested time into. It's not like I think I'm gonna go and be a trainer, and then you just switch and you just start training on day one. Like you need the reps in the tank to be able to have some sort of uh, I guess proof of concept to yourself that this is a direction that you want to go, and that this is something that you care about enough, you're passionate about enough to make your career. Because in the early years, it's going to be tough, and you're going to have to do a lot of things that you don't want to do. Like even a successful trainer, especially a successful trainer, you're going to get to the point where the hours just don't make sense anymore. You're working from like 5 to 9, and then like noon to 2, and then like 5 to 9 again. So it's like you really have to know that you're passionate about it enough to pursue it as a career, because it's going to be a grind for a bit, and getting the experience that it takes, getting the education that it takes to be successful and to get to the place where you can really make a living off of this. Like you don't want to be doing that in your mid, like if I were doing that right now, I think I'd lose my passion really quickly for this. If this was me just starting and like failing real quick at this when people are already so far ahead. So someone that really wants to get into this industry, like you need to train yourself. Like you need to be figuring out where you want to go with this and like what you're passionate about. Because even within the training industry, like you and I do different things. You and I and Bagheera do different things. You and I and Mac do different things. We're all in this kind of training specialty, and like we all do pretty well. Like we perform at a high level in the things that we do, but we all deal with different subsections. And I know if I did what James Mack does on a daily basis, I would kill myself promptly. Like it's like I couldn't do that. I don't have the passion for it. I don't have the patience for it. I don't have the mental capacity for it. So it's like you need to get in there and you need to be in a position where you can fail at these things and you can fail quickly and then move on to the next one. It's like, all right, I like working out, but like, do I want to work with athletes? Like, I don't know. That's not really my speed. Like, do I want to work with Gen Pop? I don't know. Like, I like strength training. I like rehab. I like kind of figure out the niche that you want to get into, because oh man, we have, I don't even know the number at this point, but thousands of level one coaches, and everyone that comes in, everyone that, I still talk to people on a weekly basis in these labs. Like there might be 20, 25 people in a lab, and every single one of those has a different discipline under that umbrella of strength and conditioning. So I think the first thing you have to do, like the prerequisite to any of this, is find what you love about it. Find the subsection of training, of health, of fitness that you want to get into, and then start to learn about that niche specifically.
Yeah, I think, man, there's so much bad advice.
Uh,
It's insane.
yeah.
And I think one of the things, like my qualifying question, because and it's under the umbrella of what you said, like find your sub niche or find your specialty. And some of the bad advice that I hear most often through, the mouth of a business coach or whatever is, is basically go general, and that specialization is for insects, which is like that couldn't be further from the truth, because you want to carve out your market share with an intersection of health and fitness and something, right? Whether it's, we have a lot of guys and girls that do really well, and leveraging is maybe not the right word, capitalizing, telling their story through something like military experience, right? Obviously very specialized sub-discipline of fitness, or something more along the lines of tactical SWAT, police, fire, search and rescue, etc. Obviously something that needs a physical element, but also needs a unique level of experience in the particular thing that you're training for. Yeah. Right? So that I think is a fundamental question, alongside, as you go down the route of, finding your intersection, finding your subspecialty, you need to then reach this fork in the road where you need to make a decision temperamentally on whether or not you want to work for someone or work for yourself, or have some sort of trajectory of going for working for someone to working by yourself, or the other way around, working by yourself towards working with someone or people, an organization, team, what have you. Because those two things together, the option of, what is your subspecialty, which is infinite, and kind of parcels down, fractionates the level of the individual. And do you want to partake in the subspecialty in a more organized format, right? As part of an organization or a company or a team or whatever, where you work for someone else? Or are you someone who's inclined to take on the rigor of entrepreneurship? Now, not to say there's not rigor in the more conventional employment setting, but this industry and its air quote wild west order of operation, standard operating procedure, the potential to be very creative, however you want to frame it. This industry is wildly unregulated, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah.
But to capitalize on that, you need to have like an explicit understanding. And you know what? The best you can do is come close, because nothing will prepare you for, and we can only speak to, well, not only, like we've worked in conventional settings. It's been a while, but I find myself circling back into more conventional work environments that have a hierarchy, that doesn't just have me sitting at the top by myself, or next to you and Matt and everyone else on our team, as we make decisions sort of shoulder to shoulder, where there is a clear hierarchy. And the point of this being is like, cool, find your sub niche. Yes, absolutely. Lean in on the thing you're passionate about. That passion will find you through the tough times in corporate and the tough times in entrepreneurship, or however you choose to navigate that. But you need to make a choice. And you can choose to have a strategy of going one of the particular routes and transitioning later, which is fine. But holy shit, there are some people who shouldn't be on their own, and there's some people who shouldn't be in teams. Right. I people come to me all the time. And this is chiros who are in their second year of doing some postgraduate internship, and some dickbag has like promised them the world. There's like 18 people listening right now who are living this reality.
Yeah.
And like, the dudes and the chicks, they're smart. And this guy is like, 6 more months, he's going to retire, and he's going to, no, he's not. No, he's not. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Call homie right now. I want the DM. I'm going to read it. But man, I listened to that podcast, and I stopped right at the time where I felt like you were talking to me, because I'm talking to you. You know who you are. I want you to pause the podcast. I want you to call whoever you're interning with and tell them to go fuck their hand, and then go start your own shit. Right? Like if you were, I'm going to get 2 years. You're not learning anything. You're learning the alphabet because you're filing this prick's paperwork, right? Like he's not teaching you shit because he hasn't learned anything from the fucking 80s. where he was scamming insurance companies and no one gave a shit. Now he drives a Lexus and you're going to be poor for the next 10 years, right? So like on both sides, there are people who are working in a conventional model who need to go to the entrepreneurship route. And there are people who are working as entrepreneurs who need to go into a fucking gym and they hand them your resume. You're overqualified. That's fine. You need a bit of structure. There, the number of people that I talk to, obviously you and I going the entrepreneurship route, that slants the conversation when I'm having the conversation to people who want to be an entrepreneur or are and are struggling. That, look, if you cannot work for someone else, you cannot work for yourself. Like, I am such a firm believer in that. Like, my first couple of jobs were like, they were so bad, dude. They were so bad. I was like, my first job was cleaning rat traps for 8 hours a day. And you ask yourself, how can you clean rat traps for 8 hours a day? Dead of winter, top of the shelves, Home Hardware, Watson and Wyandotte. It was a fucking sport. It was literally like, you put the, and you just, and that was, you're fucking getting, dude, back then, minimum wage in 2005, 6. Are you joking me? Especially when you were like too young to work. I think I was getting paid, fuck, if I had to guess, I don't know if I got paid over $10 an hour.
Oh, dude. When I started working, similar thing, hardware store, I delivered horse feed. And then in the winters, you're outside in the winter, all fucking winter, loading up bags of coal and wood pellets into people's
That's the
trucks.
most Pennsylvania shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's
coal?
Pennsylvania's bets. That's
I
it.
thought they made that up. That's hilarious.
Yeah, $7 an hour. $7 an hour I was making.
Yeah, that's American though. So we're about the same. 30%, $10 an hour. That's $10 Canadian. That's so funny. Dude, I remember getting like a forklift thing like driven through my leg. Ooh, I remember a guy wanted to play catch with a 50-pound bag of cement. And he took out the back of my knees, lost of consciousness, full concussion. Like, oof. I worked in a lumber yard with retards. Like, I just like, but I learned
around here, huh?
But you learn how to work. Like it's one thing. Like, if you have the option and you've only learned to work for yourself when you yourself want to work, and you haven't learned to work when you don't want to work. Oh my God. When I was 16, dude, I used to get Jiunta drunk. And you used to get Jiunta drunk because it's called Jiunta.
Yeah, that's wild, man. You're nuts.
I really don't think there's a point in our lives where if we would have met, we wouldn't have been best friends like immediately. I feel like me and you at 7, we're probably up to the same shit.
Yeah.
But like I went to a party once. This girl threw parties at parties twice. Her last name was Rounds. I'm not going to name her first name. If someone in Windsor's listening to this. The last memory I have before passing out was watching someone shoot a bow and arrow into her garage door with people on the other side of it, while someone got a hold of her parents' car keys and took her Honda CRV down the street with 4 people towing a canoe behind it. And then someone found her mom's stash of weed, which was in milk bags, most Canadian shit I've ever heard. And then other people were frying the goldfish on the frying pan. It was 4 p.m.
Yo, everything about this screams Canadian house party. If you would have mentioned maple syrup somewhere or like hockey in there, that would have completed it.
People were probably doing fucking hot knives with me. Anyways, and like this is 4 p.m. and I'm blind drunk. And the next day, Monday morning, middle of the summer, I had to fucking show up and go to work. And my dad was like, yeah, look, I don't give a fuck that you get fucked up. You get fucked up all the time, but you still got to get your ass to work. And going to work that next day and just like periodically going to vomit in the back changed me like forever. Like there are days, and I've had a few of them in the past week. You know this because I text you on these days, which has been pretty much every day. And I'm like so tired and I don't want to deal with it. And I think about the time of just like puke, rally, back to the rat traps, puke, rally, back to the rat trap. So it's like, just to bring this back full circle, you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. And look, there's nuance to this conversation. And a lot of times the nuance is around, I'm going to do one thing for a little bit, and then I'm going to transition into the other thing. I'm going to work as a part of an organization, work in a clinic with a chiro, whatever, and then I'm going to transition into my own thing. Or I'm going to work by myself online for a little bit and then transition into a team or an organization or something like that.
Yeah.
Put it on a calendar. I have 3 dates in my calendar from the last month of people that I've met that literally the note on the calendar is put a bullet in so-and-so's head. And it's like one's from 2 years from now. RTS physio, return to sport physio. Homeboy from Germany was at our seminar in Brno in the Czech Republic. Smart, scary smart. 23 years old. Fuck, dude. Weapon. Like RTS physio on Instagram. Follow him and mark your calendar because on December 2nd, 2026, I told him if he's still working for whatever fucking shem he's working for now, I will fly to Germany and put a bullet in his head. Too smart to be working for someone else out of the jump. You know how I know? Because I was too dumb and I did it and it worked out. This kid is, and so, but like hold yourself accountable. Like there is this comfortably numb that you'll get into real quick. And then, you meet a chick and then, now you got a cat. And then, it's like, I got a cat, food's getting expensive, inflation, the war in Ukraine. Next thing you know, the cat's eating you alive and you're 50 years old. Like if you have an ounce of like accountability and you're wondering like, oh, maybe I should do my own thing, you will not regret it because you will figure it out. Right. And if you don't, your cat is going to eat you in 15 years.
Yeah.
Like it's just, so that for me, the first qualifying question I have, once we get into like, as I think you're 100% right, like get in where you fit in. And the industry's only getting bigger. Mm-hmm. But when you go down that route, there are going to be more conventional routes. And then there's going to be your own path. You need to take a hard look at yourself. And again, the nuance, maybe it's somewhere in between. But you need to be clear on where that in between is. You can't just have this, I'm going to do it for a couple. Shut up. A couple? What is that? Is a couple 2? Is it 3? Is it 7? Like put it on the calendar. By this date, I'm going to be making the transition into doing, and you got to figure it out. So that's like my first thing is that like you need to know yourself well enough to be able to make that decision and stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this specific population that kind of you're talking about here, or people that are, we'll say high performers in their industry, but specifically in my mind, it's people that are in the training industry and then transitioning into higher education, whether that's chiro, whether that's physio, whether that's a more advanced like training degree, like a master's or a PhD. And that there is this conversation I typically have with that population that is very similar to that. It's like, all right, what do you want to do? I don't fucking know. That's why I'm asking you. So, so the conversation then goes to like, all right, well, how well do you think you could do this right now? And if they're confident, that's sick. If they're not, then the conversation then goes to, okay, well, the best way where you can gain experience with no risk is working for someone else, right? Like a lot of times, I'll never forget, we had to do like an internship when we were in chiropractic school. We had to work under another doctor and, like you said, file paperwork and like sweep the floor, whatever the fuck they wanted you to do on that day. I remember I was doing that, and then it came to a close.
Who'd you do yours with?
Dr. Daniel Kim.
Oh, he was like a recent grad?
No, he was probably like 10 years ahead of us or so.
Okay. All right. Curious. Yeah. I don't know if we ever had this conversation. I'm curious.
Yeah. So it was fine. It was cool. Like he ran his own practice. He billed insurance. He did x-rays in office. He did like a lot of muscle work and shit. Like I got some exposure to his systems and the way that he ran things, but like I was there just like digging elbows into people's asses and then like changing out tables and stuff. Like cool, like whatever. Like every now and then I'll go run and get coffee, whatever. He would have me adjust him at the end of the day and stuff, and it was fine. Like he was happy with my performance as an intern. I remember it came to the end of my internship, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't wait to get out of here. And he ended up offering me a job.
Oh, the old timeshare sale.
Hey,
God
he offered
damn it.
me a
That's how they
job.
get you.
And what it was, he would pay me $1,500 a month, and then I would get, I think it was 20% of every dollar I brought in over $10,000 each month.
Okay. So there was a time in history where African tribes would go to other African tribes and they offer them a very similar job. And the job was get in the boat. And it was basically similar terms. That's not a
Yo,
job. $1,500? Are you fucking joking me? Dude, we lived in the Bay Area.
yeah, I know.
What did you say?
That it was the most disrespectful thing I think someone said to my face, genuinely.
That's why.
And people have hit me in the face. People have caused physical damage to my head. Like, this was the most disrespectful thing I think someone's ever. And at the time, I was making like plenty more than that training people. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. There's absolutely no way I'm going to do that. So it's, I mean, granted, I was in a position where I was working for free and I had to do this, but kind of the message I'm getting at here is that no one's going to value your time like you value your time. Right. And that's especially in any sort of business setting. Like, it's great if you can have a good business relationship. And I've read a few business books, but like one of the ones, I think this was Never Split the Difference by maybe Jim Collins. It might not be Jim Collins, but it's a book about business negotiation. And basically, one of the early on chapters, he said, in business negotiations, it needs to be a win-win or it's a no deal, right? Like, both parties need to win, or there's no reason to make that deal. Like, you don't want to be in a relationship with someone that's unhappy in the business relationship, because that's just going to cause turmoil, friction, resentment, whatever it is. And that's like, I can't imagine going into work, the amount I would have to hate myself every day to get myself to go into this place to make this guy rich. Like, that's an insane offer to me. But the thing is, like, I spent this time in his office, and the most valuable thing I got out of that, because I wasn't getting paid to be there. Yes, I got my degree, I got my diploma, I got the license to do the thing to make money, but I learned his systems in a way where I'm like, okay, I think this works really well, but I think this is shit. Like, I think you're doing this terribly, and you could be doing this, this, and this so much better. So, like, if you're in that position, if you're a trainer and you're getting, say, a chiropractic degree, like, okay, two things you can do right now is you can continue to build your clientele as big as you can as a trainer, because that runs parallel with probably the way you're going to practice when you're a chiropractor or you're a PT or whatever it is. But get experience understanding how other people run their business as well, because then, okay, maybe they're going to offer you some sort of deal that does not value your time, but the value you can extract from that is not monetary, but it's learning, it's experience, it's systems. And you can continue to build a clientele and then learn systems that either already work or work really well or don't work really well, and figure out why they're broken. And then you can take those two things and you can turn that into your business, because there's always a level of discomfort associated with either of these paths. Like, either it's going into work for the person that doesn't value your time day after day and hating yourself because of it. That's really uncomfortable. But maybe there's a level of safety that appeals, or there's a level of learning that needs to happen before you can license yourself to go out and do that on your own. Or if you go the pure entrepreneurship route, like you and myself, fuck, man, the day we graduated, we're like, yep, I'm a chiropractor now. I have my own practice. It's like, dude, I was sitting around twiddling my thumb for months before I made any fucking money. So it's like, there's a discomfort associated with that as well. And there's a steep learning curve in both of those areas. But the trade-off is, if you're working for someone that doesn't value your time, you can expedite the learning curve and then get the fuck out of there. As opposed to if you're working for yourself, like, the discomfort isn't necessarily the learning curve. The discomfort is just getting the ball rolling. It's like, you need to understand how to get that ball rolling, and you're probably going to fail a lot of times before you do, but there's going to be a discomfort either way. So you kind of need to choose what that's going to be. And there is value to be taken from humbling yourself, and even, I don't even want to say devaluing your time, because I don't really believe in that, but like extracting value in places other than monetary value from your time, that you can then exchange that later for monetary value.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you learn early in entrepreneurship and you might learn late in the more corporate setting. And, I think you and I being able to bat stuff back and forth in the early days was super valuable. And one thing that I kind of clued into was, it's really about resource management at the end of the day, right? How you manage your resources, and time is one of them, money is another, and energy is a third. I remember being early days, and I think about it a lot now because, you have time, money, and energy, and very rarely in your life are you going to have all three, right? So out of school compared to now, although I didn't think it at the time, I had a lot of time, but I also had a lot of energy. I had no money, less than no money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars less than no money.
Right.
But I had time. I was very rich with time. Like I went from, school was, you were 40 hours a week just in class, plus whatever study on top of that, plus trying to, maintain some level of fitness and training and all that. Like you were 80 hours in on a light week in school, without a doubt. And then all of a sudden you kind of get this weight lifted off your shoulders after 8 years of post-secondary education. And you're just like, fuck. Like you get like almost you're institutionalized with stress. And still to this day have an issue with being, now to go back to our original point about addiction, definitely addicted to stress. You hear from me more when we don't have problems than when we have problems. Because when we have problems, I got something to do. All right, cool. Hey, we got to do this, this, and this. All right, you do this, I'll do this. We'll call Penny, he'll rock that. Break. Okay, sick, go, execute, done. And I'm like, shit's on fire, but I am so happy. Yeah. I'm the dog sitting in the room. Everything's fine. And like, that's not a meme. Like that's my brain. Like if shit's on fire, chilling. This is this. Like put me, give me the keys. Let's fucking drive this bitch. Like ready to go. But like, if things are good, I don't know. What is this?
Yeah.
Because at least when it's on fire, I know where the fire is. When it's not on fire, I need to predict where it's coming from. And that's where my brain fucks off.
Yeah.
So the point of this is I don't even remember what the fucking point of this was. When you have your resources laid out and you're in tune with what you have, because that's the biggest thing, right? Like some people say you don't have time. Motherfucker, you have time. You have time. Trust me. If you're contemplating this part of your career, you have time. Money, it'll come and go. You almost have to trust that money will come. That's kind of like where I've, without talking about how much drugs I've done in the last couple of years, you almost have to have this, like, I'm going to jump and I'm going to fall into some money before shit gets real, real bad. I just know you just had trust that what it is you'll trust that you'll do what it takes to figure it out. And that's a muscle. Like that's something that you got to train, because like sometimes I look at the finances, just personal, and I go, okay, as it stands right now, I can't afford to do this, but I know that I'll figure it out. And I just like into the red on the credit card, into the next opportunity. And then sure enough, that opportunity, and I was like, oh fuck, whoo, I am batting 1,000% at that. And let me tell you, there's been some weird universal Hail Marys of like rent's due. And then the day before someone hits me and like, hey, I'm looking for blah, blah. Wow. Like it has happened so many times that I don't know what dimension I am not in tune with, but like you have to trust that you've done everything right or everything possible. And right is maybe the wrong terminology. I don't like right versus wrong. Everything you can. If you've done that and you start taking risks, you will benefit from those. Those risks will pay off. And, that is fundamental to our earlier point of like risk aversion versus conventional lifestyle versus entrepreneurship. That's a dividing line temperamentally for someone who may be better suited in the entrepreneur route or someone who better suited in the more conventional job market. And neither are good or bad. It's just a matter of knowing which one you are. So those three resources, time, money, and energy. And then understanding when you have a good inventory of what each is worth for you, right? It's a famous Warren Buffett quote. The price is how much you pay and value is what you get, right? So what is the cost of your time, which I think is a useful endeavor. And we can all kind of ballpark this, right? Like you have your rates that you would charge for different activities, and there's higher level tasks and there's lower level tasks as far as like dollar figure per hour. But then what is the value of your time? Right? Like what is the price for your time? What is the cost? That's easy, right? Someone's going to hire me to do, a half day seminar, a whole day seminar, a 2-day, a 3-day. I have an email. I just send it to you. I just fucking, here you go. And then we'll sort it out from there. But the value of your time, especially when you have a lot of it, that's up to you to decide. Right. And just like the price of your time may fluctuate based off of the activity. If you're a consultation versus a follow-up in chiro terms, those are two different activities that cost a little bit of a little bit amount, or a slightly different amount per unit time. There's some are more comprehensive, some is a little bit, or the follow-up would be a little bit easier. But what you do with the free time you have that no one's given you money for is a direct indicator of how much you value your time, right? And for me, and for my advice for entrepreneurs and people who reach out, is I try and, I hate to use the word audit, but I try and have them audit what they do with their free time, because that's going to tell me what they value. And that's going to tell me not only what they value, how much they value that resource, right? Because I remember there are 2 kids, and I'm not going to name their names because I'm sure they're not in practice anymore. I remember, and I've told the story on the podcast before. I remember on a Sunday, we all lived in this apartment complex called North Park. You got out after like the first year or 2, but we were neighbors there for a little bit. And I remember still living in North Park. Any Palmer West student, if there are any of you out there, would remember that housing complex. And it was probably about a year and a half in, maybe 2 years in, post-grad. And I was in my broken down truck driving through North Park, about to head to the office on a Sunday, because you just went whenever the money was there. I went in at 2:30 in the morning on a Tuesday night once, because I was like, I made up an emergency after hours rate while driving to the office on the cell phone with someone who called me. I was like, oh yeah, like, we got this after hours thing. You hit the bat signal. It's going to be $200. I ate hot food that entire week. Thanks to girl had an impacted molar, and I was like, "Yep, sorry, I'm not a dentist, but I called. There you go, $200 plus an initial fee." What a week that was! But I remember running into someone we graduated with, and this happened twice on 2 different occasions, 2 different people, and hey, what are you up to, man? How are things? I'm like, yeah, just headed into the office, and I'm like, they're like, I'm gonna head to the pool, man. You gotta take the downtime, man. I was like, yeah, that what? You got to take, what's that? What's the word you said after you got to take your what? Downtime? You'll have your downtime, dog. When you're not practicing anymore in a couple of years, you'll have all the downtime you want. And I was like, I just shook my head. I was like, what the fuck is this guy on about? Yeah. That just shows me you don't value your time. And like, everyone has a look. If you're at a point where you're reaching out to someone like, Jay or myself, have that question answered before you dawn someone's doorstep, because I'm going to pick you the fuck apart. If you come at me and look, it's something, and not always, but more often than it should be, more often than not, in the same brain as someone who goes, I'm going to DM this guy because, the career trajectory, whatever, I like what they've done over there at Prescript. I don't say no. I'm not going to say don't reach out to me, but you do not come at me with some bullshit fucking excuse about what you do with your free time and how you need to do it. Because that is the first thing you got to fucking get rid of if you want to be successful. Holy shit. The number of me and my partner like to do acro yoga for 7 hours on Thursday afternoon. Okay, live on the streets. If you're not willing to part with that, then don't be successful. Like that, those are your options. And it's like, and I get this, like, kind of like buddy with you. Like, oh, like you gotta fucking take care of the mental. I was like, taking care of the mental is putting fucking food on the table. Taking care of the mental is paying your fucking bills and your loan. That's taking care of the mental. You're fucking tumbling in grass with your soon to be ex-girlfriend. Enough. Stop fucking. If it's one thing, like, look, I don't mind being lied to. I don't care. Water off a duck's back. I don't like when people lie to themselves in front of me. That fucks me off. Like, you lie to me all you want. I don't, but whatever. Especially in that fucking setting of like, you're some prick in my DM. But if I have to sit there and be witness to you lying to yourself, that I have, like, I don't know why that pisses me off more than anything else. Holy shit. Drives me insane. Value your fucking time and act like it.
No, I'm the complete opposite. Don't fucking lie to me. But lie to yourself all you want. But but where's I gonna go with that? Yeah, as we're starting to look at someone like, say, acro yoga couple, whatever, you need to look at two things. There's wants and there's needs in life, right? You can have your wants, but you don't get to have your wants until the needs are taken care of, right? And I think you brought up the idea of fulfillment on a recent podcast that we did, and I think that's where people run into that feeling of not being fulfilled. It's when they chase wants, but their needs aren't taken care of, right? If so, for my personal example, like working for this guy, like I wanted money, I wanted stability, I wanted a career, I wanted those things. But like before that mattered, I needed to understand, like, okay, where's this next meal coming from? Like, am I going to be able to make rent? Like the things that, like safety, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like these sort of things. Like once these are fulfilled, then you can start doing acro yoga and whatever and the next thing and whatever it is. An example of what this looked like for me was like, do you remember the first time you read a book after Cairo school?
Oh, after Cairo school. Yeah.
So that was something that, like, it was a moment where I'm like, I haven't had the time or energy or want to read a book in years. And like now I'm finally at a place where I feel comfortable enough with everything that's going on in my life that I can take an hour out of the day and sit down and read a book. That was like a turning point for me. It was like, okay, the needs are now taken care of. Now I could do something that I want to do for me. And I think people skip that step. Is they chase the
Right.
wants without like really fulfilling their needs. And that's where this stuff can come from, is like, all right, I'm going to take the job with the guy that pays me shit because it offers a little bit of stability, and maybe it like makes them feel like their needs are being fulfilled, but really what they want is the stability, or they want like the idea of having this career or whatever it might be, but they're never really fulfilling their needs. And that's what that is to me, is like I have a need for more than whatever it is I already have, in like certain ways, in like a very general sensation. It's like I have the want to pursue something more. I think I'm sorry. I have the need to pursue something more. So it's like this unfulfilled need that I have is that, like, stagnation is death. It's like if I stop moving, I'm gonna drown like a fucking shark, right? So for me to continue to fulfill that need, I need to be in pursuit of something. And the reading the book, the acro yoga, the whatever it is, the vacation to Cabo, like that stuff doesn't matter to me unless I'm in pursuit of something, right? So it's there's this need, and I think maybe if we zoom out a bit, like that's what you should be looking at if you're thinking about starting a business or going to business on your own. It's like, if you just want something to pay the bills and you want that career that's stable just enough to get you by, kind of gives you the salary that keeps you on the drip, it's like, all right, cool. Like you'll keep skating by and that's fine. And your needs might be fulfilled and you can do the things that you want on the weekend, like raise the kids, like, I don't know, have hobbies, go camping. But if there's that unfulfillable need to pursue something more, you're never going to get that with working for someone else, right? Like a career, a salary, that's the drug that just keeps you on the needle long enough to get the next paycheck or the next thing, and you're not really accomplishing that thing in terms of career. And not everyone feels this way. Like you and I feel this way, obviously, or else we wouldn't be in this position. But like if you have that unfulfillable need to continue to pursue something more, then you're never going to get that with employment, right? If that's in that designation under career. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with this.
I'm going to pose, and I want your take on this. I think if you are in the professional health and fitness space, and you also strive for, and you need, if I'm getting this correctly, this level of security, those two things temperamentally do not go together. Like if you need to find, if you at the core value the stability and the lifestyle more than the work, you're in the wrong profession. 100, because you need to be so like, to be good, to be great. And like, I've been in the room with some fucking great practitioners, and a great practitioner is just, and all disciplines, coaches, physios, osteos, MDs, regardless. And it's like, I think MDs are really the kind of the holy grail of this principle, because the lifestyle is great. But let me tell you something about the work. My sister's a physician. She's a medical doctor. Let me tell you about the work that you need to be in love with. Like this, it's a gripe that I have across the board. There's this axiom, this idiom, this trope that goes around about falling in love with the process. Nope. You got to fall in love with the end result. It's the only thing that'll get you through. If you are not in love with the end result, you cannot fool yourself into loving the process. You need to love the outcome. That when it's all like the shit we go through and how clear we are on what the goal is, that's what there's no like, like this is great. No. If you do not love the results, if you do not love the work, the whole falling in love with the process thing will fail you 1,000%. And I can guarantee you that, because what you think is falling in love with the process is just a reminder of why you're doing it in the first place. Outcome orientation is the key to discipline. That it is nothing to do with the process or anything like that. It has everything to do, at the end of the day, when I see people who act in a certain way that is not in accordance with loving the work and loving the end result, these are the people who fail. Without a doubt, 100%. The Sunday going to the pool, need to do my mental shit. You don't love the work. The work is hard, but that's where the fulfillment has to come from. If you do not get fulfilled from the act of doing the thing in our industry, as much as that, splits off into all the different niches, if you are in the service industry and you do not get lost in the work, you need to change industries. I'm telling you, you are fighting a losing, but you are walking in trying to put a square temperamental peg into a round career hole. It is not going to work. Be honest with yourself. That to me is fundamental of people who work in positions of service, is that they are in love with the work first and foremost. So that is like maybe a qualifying question of like, do you value the lifestyle that the work gives you more than the work itself? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot about what we do and the way we do it that affords you and I the lifestyle that you and I both want, right? Like, people ask me all the time, like when I'm doing seminar, and sometimes we do them together, and we do them together when you want to do them together. And sometimes we don't do them together when you do not want to get on the plane and fucking spend 2 days like, nah, gee, like I'd rather train and I'd rather do my thing. And that's the lifestyle that you want. And I live the lifestyle that I want. And we both induce a collateral for that, undoubtedly. But at the end of the day, we both find fulfillment from that. But the thing that's true about the lifestyle that you and I both have is that it comes secondary to the love and fulfillment of the work that we do, right? And the people that we get to do it with. If your goal is oriented towards the lifestyle primarily, trust me, there's just better ways to do it with less pain than in this industry, right? Sure, it can afford you. We are not compared to some people. I remember running into Joseph Rakic, who's, if some of you guys might know who he is, he's the founder of Macro Active, the application online, very successful. I run into him outside of Binos in Dubai a few weeks ago, brand new Huracan, baby blue, this paid for, like not renting, like this is in the garage with 3 or 4 more. And it's like, loves it. Software, team building, he's working 24/7. He loves the work more than he loves the lifestyle, which is crazy because his lifestyle's fucked. nuts, like balling out of control. But he's got it. Don't worry about him. He's got the fucking bag and he's worked for it because he fell in love with the work. And I think the hard part is people buy the lifestyle and they see the work as a vector to that. You need to go be a fucking day trader, right? Go be a stockbroker or something. Go sell real estate. This is not the place for you. It'll fucking drain you if you don't love it.
Fuck, that's so true, dude. And I think I have a really good example of that too. Is I remember, I think it was last May. It was right after my dog died. Like my dog died the day I was supposed to fly out and meet you in Tampa, and we were gonna go work at Yo Spot for a week. And I'm like, dude, I gotta push it back a day. Like, I gotta take care of this. And then that night, I hopped on a red eye. I got off the plane. I Ubered right to the gym and just started working with people, right, with you that day. And I'm like, this is the best thing for my mental state right now, because I can't think of a single time I've ever been in a session with a client or an athlete or training someone where I wasn't 100% fully present there. And it's never been something that, shit gets tired, but it's like, so the way you started off this podcast, you said like when an athlete steps on a treadmill, their heart rate starts to elevate. So a phenomenon I've experienced my entire life with competitive athletics is like in wrestling, like my heart rate jacks up when I know I was going to go out on the mat. The second that first whistle blows, it drops down. It's cool, calm, collected. I'm in the zone. I'm doing what I have to do. Same thing in session with the client. Like there's, before that client shows up, there's all the noise of every fucking thing I have to do in my head. And like, I have a list of like 30 things, and then client shows up. It's like, noise stops. I'm like, I'm with them one-on-one. Like, this is it. I'm in session. Don't fucking talk to me. I'm with this person. And it's like, that's the love that you need to have for this, is that it needs to be the thing that drowns everything else out. Like running a business, that's the process. That sucks dicks, dude.
It's so much dick.
Like it sucks too many dicks.
See the size of this? This right here? Hold that up to the camera.
Yeah.
That right there. That'll do it. Hold
on.
Bend over real quick.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's running. Yeah. I don't love running a business.
that's running a business.
But the thing about that is like, and the thing that makes it so gratifying that, we took on the responsibility of running a business under very stressful times continually. But I think something that makes it continually worth it, and more worth it than the bullshit we deal with, is building something bigger than you, right? Is that something that keeps me going? Is there's not like, dude, I was on a call with someone last week, and like this past week I went to the girl's family house and we were babysitting all week. That's a stressful fucking week. And I was like telling him about it as we were on the call. He's like, yo, like Shao and you, you're parents to thousands of people. You know that. I'm like, yo, homie, like, don't say that to me. Don't talk to me that way.
Oh, not because you've just like, okay, sorry. I didn't know if you had actually fathered a bunch of children that were illegitimate.
No, not some Genghis Khan shit.
Sorry, I had to clarify that. I understand, yes.
But he's like basically saying like, dude, like, like you give a lot of people direction, and like a lot of people in this industry, like they don't really know which direction to go. And like, what you guys have built has given a lot of people purpose and meaning and direction. It's like that. If I never got any sort of gratification from anything else we've ever done besides that, it's worth it.
Yeah. Look, I don't think people really understand how gratitude works. I think a lot. I think we all do. I don't know. I've never been anyone else other than me, but I feel like I have just a nonstop stream of thought. And one of the things I was thinking about the other day about our industry specifically, and what you and I do specifically, both like, on the business side, but also professionally, like the idea of kind of getting lost in session, is like, there's a lot of talk around gratitude, which I find odd. And like, there are people who struggle to exemplify that they possess gratitude. And service to me and gratitude are the same thing. Because if you can find a place where talking to the metaphorical you, whoever you are out there, who you, as retarded and as useless and as broken and as a big a piece of shit and as forgetful and stupid and maybe ugly, I don't know, as shitty as you are, and trust me, all the ways that whoever you are listening, are shitty, there is someone else out there that you can help. which means Jesus Christ on earth, Lord, Mother Mary and Joseph, there's someone worse off than you. And if you can be of service to that person, you can simultaneously be grateful to be in a position where you are not in need of yourself, where someone can be of benefit to you in all the ways that you are retarded and ugly and useless. You can still, there's someone out there. My dad taught me this early, and this is the preachings of a poor kid's father. There's always someone worse off than you. The number of times I threatened to mail my vegetables to Africa as a kid because my dad was like, there's some fucking poor kid in Africa. You eat those fucking vegetables. And it's like, what he was doing was like, you be grateful for those fucking food on your plate, because as bad as it is, at least there's food on your plate. If you're in this industry and you struggle with meaning and gratitude, know that someone is looking to you because you're in a situation in some capacity in your life that you are better off than them. And you can be grateful for not being in a worse off position. Service and gratitude are the same thing. So I don't want to see another fucking post about gratitude. That post could have been a fucking DM to someone or a response to someone who's reaching out for your fucking help. I don't want to hear about gratitude anymore. I want to see more service, because it's the same fucking thing. And it's something about the low IQ barrier of entry and the double tap heart pat on the back that people get for taking care of their mental and fucking gratitude this and all. It's like, you don't get how it works. Gratitude, service, same thing. You're in the service industry. Be grateful that people will look to you to help them. And that's what gratitude is. It's a verb. And if you struggle with this stuff, try it. And if you still struggle, get out of the industry. And like, I honestly think more people need to hear that, or more people need to realize that what this industry actually is. It's the work. The work can beget a certain lifestyle, sure, without a doubt. But at the end of the day, if your North Star is lifestyle, trust me, you're just gonna have an easier time. These are two guys that have a really hard time a lot of the time. This is like the musings of people who are just constantly stressed out of their fucking eyeballs. It's like that black dude when he takes the camera and takes a snap flash and get out. Like, my nose should be bleeding right now. Should we get out? Like, trust me, if you don't resonate 100% with like the love of the work, understanding that service is gratitude, understanding that you can get lost in what we do, then look for what that does, like where you can find that for you. Because if you're not 100% in, you're 100% out. And you can punch a clock making fucking seatbelts. You can punch a clock, selling penny stock. You can't punch a clock in this industry and be successful.
That's it. Mic drop.
Oh, all right. Well, so if you still want to roll with us, Prescript Level 1 up for sale now on the website. Totally understand if you want to just like unsubscribe from everything we do. But if you fuck with us, we fuck with you. Appreciate you guys reaching out. If you're still listening at this point, subscribe on iTunes. I don't know. I'm the old people in the podcasting space, the top charts. You know what it is? I actually don't think we're listed under health and fitness. I'm going to talk to Jay Marsh. That may be why it also sounds like a petty excuse of why we're not ranking. It's like, there must be something broken back here. We're not in the top 10. But appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate you hanging out. For those of you who have registered now, stoked. Feel free to like share some stuff on IG so we know where to find you before next semester. That's it. We'll see you next week.